Okay, now whetstones are sacrificial. They're consumable. As we use the whetstone, we make, we whether it be a soaking stone or splash and go, but we wet this ceramic clay mixture that has the abrasives embedded in it. Some of them are very clean, some of them are more muddy, some of them work because of the muddy action. That's called a, I'm trying to think of the word that they use for the mud. I'll have to come back to that. But some of them work with the mud. Some cut like a diamond stone. Strictly the abrasives do the cutting, where others, it's a mixture, the slurry, muddy slurry. When you make that muddy slurry, it's that muddy, wet paste with the abrasive in it, and the action is in the slurry, where other stones are cleaner cutting. There are different qualities to different whetstones, and that's what I'm trying to find out. Now, I chose at the beginning to go with the wicked edge format because that's what I was working with. I didn't think outside the box because I found people that would cut the different stones and mount them for wicked edge, and I could use them all on my wicked edge. So it wasn't hard. Now let me just sidestep. Let's talk about guided sharpening. With guided sharpening, whether you're using hapstone or you're using wicked edge, we're setting the angles. And the stone thickness affects that angle because we're using that angled guide rod, and the stone thickness affects how the angle is read. So that's a consideration, and we have to find ways of measuring it. And I know you guys using those adjusters have adapters, and I know some of you have adapters on your adapters. I have my wicked edge that has the sub riser under the riser. I understand. I have the extra clamps. I do the same thing. We're doing the same thing. There's not any conflict. We're doing the same thing differently with a similar device. Anyway, so the stones have to be maintained. They have to be lapped. What lapping does is it flattens this, and you want it to be flat along the length and flat side to side and level. And you want to try to maintain the thickness so your stone doesn't get out of whack like that. So that's a separate skill factor. So that's another thing with whetstones. Not only do we have to pick and choose which whetstone, and then we have to figure out how to use it, but then we have to figure out how to maintain it. So it gets to be a lot. I worked for the longest time. These are original Choceras from Genda. I had these Shapton stones that are from Genda that I purchased from some from Wicked Edge and some from Bob Nash at Aldewan. When I ran out of stones I wanted to buy, and I started looking to share my love of whetstones with people, I came to the realization that that big rack, that takes up a lot of space, and it's a lot of work, and it gets expensive, like I said, because you have to buy paired handles. And then when you're starting with, this is for Wicked Edge, when you're starting with working in pairs, now you're putting 4 stones on 2 handles. So by the time you get to a pair of grits, you could have $300-400 in the 2 grits in the pairs. So to build a grit collection and paired stones to work with Wicked Edge, it becomes an investment. So what I looked to do was I looked to show you guys some options that I'm using because of my years of interaction with Tom Blodgett at Gendi. That's why I deal with him, because he is a sharpener. He is a knife sharpener. And we talk sharpening, not necessarily guided sharpening, but just sharpening technique, sharpening Japanese chef knives. And he helps me to understand the old freehand sharpening techniques as I try to decipher that and put it to fixed angle guided sharpening using the wicked edge. So these are Shuramaku Pro Stones in the 1x4. These are on stainless plates. And I have a set of these. I use these in uni handles. There are some, these are the same plates that you use in the TF Prof or the Hapstone, the 1x6 universal. Wicked Edge is proprietary size. For some of you, you find that off-putting. This is proprietary size, 1x6. It just happens to be a proprietary size that's shared by a few companies. And I'm going to suggest to you the reason that is because for each and everybody, every company, to make their own proprietary size, they're still buying these stones from stone makers, and they're still having to cut them. So there's an advantage to a shared size. And for that same reason, there may be a disadvantage to this size because it's limited to only wicked edge. Yeah, I could understand that. That all said, it's still the same whetstones. This one is used this way, and then you turn it over, use it this way. This is used as a single stone, and then you change it out. These have to, if you're going to want to use these for wicked edge, then you need to get some sort of a universal handle, and you have to buy them in pairs so that you can use it in pairs for wicked edge. So it becomes an investment. Then once you buy them, then you have to find a way to store them. I got this beautiful box from Gritomatic. Very nice box, but as you see, when you start getting into this, it gets expensive. Then these stones have to be lapped. To maintain their flatness. I'm going around in circles. I didn't ever get there. Lapping is a whole separate thing. Lapping is done. Some are done with a glass lapping plate that you put an abrasive powder on here, a silicon oxide powder, and then the stones. There's some that are for the diamond resin matrix stones. There's lapping plates that have the abrasives cut in, and this is made more for a hard stone. This is used for the matrix stone. Then I have the lapping plates. This is a small one that I got just because of the price point. It was small enough to work well with this. And this is, you wet the stone I'll show you a video on lapping. That's a whole separate still. But you flatten the stone and flatten this side in order to keep the stone so it's flat and level. It rejuvenates the abrasive. It scuffs off the old clay, and it brings fresh clay with fresh abrasives flat, so your stones are always renewed. There is the Shapton glass stones. Are very hard, so they have a special Shapton glass lapping plate. These get expensive. This thing is like $300, but it will last you almost a lifetime. These are all a separate skill set that we have to develop, and you have to learn which lapping plate works which stone. So it becomes not complicated, but it becomes very involved. It is involved. I don't know how else to say it. That for you guys that get into this, it's hard to get into whetstones half-fast, because whetstones require maintenance and maybe a special skill set so that you can learn between soaking stones and splash and go and the maintenance and that sort of stuff. So it gets a little involved, and then the abrasives are questionable. It's not like CBN made by different companies. Those are all CBN, or diamond stones they're all diamond stones, so they're comparable. When you start talking about ceramics made by Shapton and made by Nanawa and made by Suhira and Toshi Ayoshi and let me see what else. Ayoto, there's natural stones. There's some that are called natural synthetic, and there's quarried stones, natural stones like Arkansas stones that are cut out of the ground and used for their abrasive. So it's endless. It's endless where you can go with. I have here, probably my two favorite stones are the Shapton glass stones and the Choceras. The Choceras have the original Chocera, Chosera. In the U.S. domestic market, they made a new Chocera, Chosera. The abrasive in the new Chocera has more of a epoxy binder. It's a splash and go stone, whereas the original Choceras, I'm trying to find one, I got it here. The original Chocera, Chosera, were originally used as a soak stone, but as people used them, they learned that they really did work quite well as a spritz and go or a splash and go stone that you just spritzed water on them. They would absorb water and eventually they worked as though you had soaked them. So the original Choceras can be used soaked or splash and go, whereas the newer ones are really made for splash and go. The feel is a little different. You will not find, unless you buy them yourself and commission someone to cut them for you, I don't think you're going to find Chocera, Chocera, the new Chocera stones. They're called Nanawa Professional Stones. The new Choceras are Nanawa Professional Choceras, and they have pretty much the same color, but the old ones are a little bit different. The new ones with the new resins, they feel a little different, but they work so similarly that they could almost be used interchangeable. So the Choceras that are available that we're buying for TS Pro, Hapstone, those that are available from Gritomatic or Genda, those Choceras are generally the older traditional Choceras in the domestic market where they're buying them. These guys, I don't believe many of them are buying the U.S. market whetstones and cutting them. They're, I believe, buying the domestic overseas market stones, which may be a little different. And that little different may make them a little hard to understand what you're buying. I got to stop here.